obviously you guys know how passionate I'm about this topic in particular, right? But I thought this would be something fun to talk about, just the importance. This is a subsection of that book, The Anxious Generation, that hopefully you guys have read. If you haven't, read it, right? It's very important. I'm actually going to have a video at the end of John Haidt talking about, just a snippet of him talking about the book. But to me, this was one of the key things. It's just this misunderstanding of the modern parent with screens and especially smartphones and like all the things. Because I don't think people realize it until it's too late. A lot of times, like all the things that come with giving your kid a smartphone too early, and I think it bears exploring further. Right, so around 2010, there's been a lot of research. Then that's when smartphones started coming into the world, right? There was a major shift in like just mental health in our children, especially our teenagers, and even more so our teenage girls, right? And the key kind of impacts that they've noticed, and they can really only associate with one thing, which is the smartphone, right? That really is like the one major change that happened in those years. Are some of these things when we give these smartphones and or too much screen time to kids at a young age. I mean, the first one for the kids that are our kids' age right now in lower school is just like a loss of their ability to play and interact with other children well. And I think people don't realize like how much play is important to children, right? And how they're wired for play. They're wired for all types of play, physical, mental, games. But when you take that from them and really isolate them on screens, it really changes their ability to interact with others. It changes their ability to be resilient, right? It changes their ability to be bored, right? All these things that we're noticing in a lot of children these days when you see people at restaurants and they throw cell phones at their kids and other things to keep them entertained. It's like they don't have that ability to be bored anymore, because of all the dopamine and the rush that they get from screens and from that one-on-one time with screens. And we know that a lot of the games and even social media is designed now to really like release dopamine in their user, and so kids are no different. So that's like the number one thing that we're seeing is kids who are less socially adept and less able to just be, right? With girls especially, this is coming up a lot with young girls. If girls are getting into social media, which obviously they should not be, but they are, at the age of 9, 10, 11, 12, they're facing a lot of social comparison, a lot of anxiety of the FOMO, like missing out, right? Like, oh, my friend was in the Bahamas and we stayed in Colorado or whatever, right? And then other like mental health concerns are coming from their use of social media at a young age. And a lot of these things exist for all ages, right? But the brain can develop further as you get older to manage some of these feelings more. And it's definitely not ready for it. There's a lot of research on it. It's definitely not ready at that age. And also within the book, he talks a lot about how 13 is the age at which they're supposedly be able to sign up for social media in the United States. But he talks about how that is like arbitrary. That was like a negotiation between like Congress people and the tech industry, but it was based on like no facts, based on nothing about brain development. It was just like an arbitrary number that they picked, right? But John Haidt would say more like 16 years old before kids get into social media. Definitely wait until 8th or 9th grade for a smartphone, but then wait until 16 at least for social media, and even further if you can prevent it. Yeah. Another thing you really pointed out, which I see every day, is sleep disruption. I know which kids are on screens at night, and I see it in their just affect daily. So there's a lot of talk about no screens in the bedroom, whether it's a TV, a laptop, a smartphone, an iPad, whatever. Just like keep screens out of the bedroom for your kids because it's just too tempting for them to after you put them to bed, for them to wake back up and get in on that stuff. And especially if it's social media. Just imagine 10 o'clock at night having these types of feelings before you go to bed. and staying up really late. So obviously that sleep is really important for all people, especially children. They need a lot of sleep, and screens in the bedroom prevents that. So it's a big issue that is coming up for all people. And finally, reduced independence, just that inability to like take care of yourself. And that, when I mentioned earlier about Let Grow, that whole organization came from this idea that kids don't do the things that we used to do as kids anymore. My daughter is in the Girl Scouts right now. I'm really excited that she's about to gear up to start doing door-to-door sales in her neighborhood, because I know that there's so many skills that come with that, right? And I imagine all of you guys at least once did that as a kid, and how nerve-wracking it is, and how you have this idea of how it's going to go in your mind, and then how it goes in reality. And I'm really excited about that, her being able to walk in the neighborhood and do those type of sales. I'm also really starting to incentivize her to walk the neighborhood. Oh, you want gelato? Go, right? Here's some money. Go. It's 6 blocks that way, right? Go for it. And I think John Haidt would agree, and most people these days are saying that kids need this. It's what they're missing right now, and they need to be trusted that they can handle themselves. They need to be told that they're capable, and then they need to be like shoved out the door to do these things, right? Because if we coddle them, then a lot of the teachers in lower school right now have 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, and all they talk about is how hard it is to get them to launch these days, to get them to like get out and go be a young adult. And we all reminisce about how much fun that was for us, right? Those are like the best years, just like so much fun. And these days, kids don't quite have that ability.
But they're not wanting to drive.
Maybe they don't want to drive right now. So there's all these just like things that are knock-on effects of kids that have not built up enough independence in their life. So Let Grow is a great place to go for that, because it has all kinds of cool challenges that parents can do, and ideas of things you can do for your kids to like build up their independence. So it's a really cool organization, and you can check out their website.
What kinds of things do they teach you, like specifically?
A lot of it is chores, doing things in your neighborhood, all that stuff that we used to do as kids. Just kind of building up that independence level, going to the grocery store by yourself to buy stuff, all the stuff that you think people might even like look at your kids strange these days, but you know they need it and they're capable. And there's tons of research saying that this is like literally the safest time in human history. Right? No matter what social media says, no matter what the nightly news says, like right now in human history, this is the safest time ever, right, for kids. Obviously, there are dangers out there, and your kids, you have to make decisions of what you feel comfortable with as a parent. But this idea that there's like bad guys in every corner ready to do bad things to your kid, it's not a reality. It doesn't bear out as far as statistics and crimes these days. One quote that I thought that came from that book is this from Thoreau. I'm a huge Thoreau fan, but this idea that the cost of something really isn't like the expense of it, it's the amount of life you exchange for it, right? And these cell phones have a much higher cost than their price, right? Than their dollar price. And giving it to a kid early has a really big cost, and how much life is exchanged for that cost. What can we do? Right, we gotta limit screen time, and we gotta wait until at least 8th grade for a smartphone. Right? Phone and screen-free zones in your home. Right? The dinner table, bedrooms, bathrooms have to be phone and screen-free. Right? There's a whole different world of research about dinner time and how important it is to like positive outcomes for your kid long term, like just having a normal dinner time, at least like 17 minutes, I think is the magic number, and just sitting down, talking, looking each other in the eye and talking about your day. Very, very valuable for good outcomes for your kid. And then just promote real world things for your kid as much as possible. So a couple of things I had thought real fast was a big thank you to Alex for helping get us to wait until 8th for all the grades.
Yeah,
right?
well, every single class in lower school has an active pledge.
Yes.
Yeah, and
So,
most school, like I looked, most schools have maybe one grade with a pledge. So I think it's a big selling point for Dawson, for families to feel like there's support and like new families coming in. Something exists.
Police class, but there are already so many kids that have
Right.
phones.
The cat's out of the bag.
It wasn't like a thing until third grade,
Right.
and kids already have phones. So it's unfortunate. She really is like the only one without
Right.
one.
Well, I
But
saw.
she kind of likes it.
Yeah, I saw John Hyde actually at a presentation recently where a woman was on stage with him and she was saying, I did this, I gave my kids smartphones, how do I go backwards from this?
Yeah.
And he said, you look your kid in the eye and you said you made a mistake,
Yeah.
right?
So
And that your job's to keep them safe. And if it's that important, then you're gonna do it, So there is a way back from it.
But it
But I
is,
think sometimes people don't want to have that conversation with their own teenager.
Dr. Becky talks about that too, how it
Yeah.
can be undone for
Yeah.
some people,
Yeah.
but they're just so scared of doing it.
Right.
well, it's sad. She doesn't want to go to sleepovers anymore because she's like, they're all just on her phone.
It's so weird.
That's
So weird.
sad.
And I'm like,
It's so sad.
Yeah.
And then my other thought too was just that concept of overprotect. Like we overprotect in the real world, where in theory there are less dangers, less things that can harm our kids, and we underprotect in the cyber world, where like a lot of stuff, not necessarily bad guys, but just all of the mental health issues that come with the interactions online over time and social media. That's where the danger is right now. And we kind of have it backwards right now. We're so coddling our kids physically, but allowing them that screen time and creating, some real adverse effects.